Hello Generals! Welcome to a brand new video. This time we play Warno. This game was finally released officially a few weeks back. Since it is a real-time strategy game, we have to try it. And not only that, but I've played all games of Eugene since the European Escalation, Airland Battle and War Game Red Dragon. Especially for War Game Red Dragon, I have logged almost 2000 hours playing it. So I had to try this one as well. Now we play a 10 versus 10 game and we are at the phase of deployment. As you can see, we chose to play to the far right side. I am still a new player in this game. I'm still learning the mechanics, although I have played Red Dragon for so many hours. This game is completely different. It does not forgive any mistakes. The slightest mistake, you're gonna get punished. So, the basics apply to this game as well. The basics of tactics and strategy. In the deployment phase, we have placed our units, and as you can see, we're sending our two recon units flying with the gazelles. They are airlifted with the gazelles, the helicopters, the transport helicopters, and I'm placing them into the positions, into the buildings where I selected the deployment phase when I checked the line of sight for my recon units. I'm not trying to lead the attack, I'm not that experienced yet, and I'm using the British division called Berlin Command. It is the one that has the Nighthawks. And as more units appear on the map and the game becomes a bit more interesting, it is the time for me to remind you to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our new videos, and if you hit that like button, it would be much appreciated. So back to our game now. We have captured the zone by sending our command vehicle there. We have in position the two scouts, the ATGMs, the Milan 2s in that building. Our friends are using their planes and they are trying to fight the enemy air superiority fighters. So at this stage we try to study how many players first of all we have up against us, and the second is to study what they are using in order for us to bring the according units out in the field. So now let's talk about the terrain. Let's talk about the sector we have selected to play, because this is a huge map and we only focus on the sectors that our units are engaged with the enemy. Right now we have to the far right, let's say east, we have a forest and a hill where our friend is fighting right now, our ally is fighting the units, and where my right scout unit is placed. Now as you can see, and I interrupt what I was saying, I'm using the empty gazelles to transport faster the Mistral anti-air unit, the manpads. And this is something I used to do back in War Game Red Dragon, because the transport helicopters costed so much more and you didn't have enough points. I'm not faced yet, I have logged like 100 hours in this game so far, and I never ran out of points, maybe because I do not lead the charge and the attacks. So back to the terrain now. In the center of the sector we have this concentration of buildings where our friend has some Milans too. I have placed a rover as well, Wombat. It is called, it has a recoilless weapon on it, and I've seen these guys working in real life, and I try to use them because they are fast and they are excellent against light armored vehicles and against infantry. Also, I'm reinforcing my anti-air, let's say, capabilities, and I'm bringing out an M163, which is the anti-air gun, and a couple of manpad units with Mistrals. Now I have launched my Nighthawk for the first time, and I changed my mind because I saw that air superiority fighter, he can pick it up on his radar as soon as he approaches, but he's dead. He fell into the trap of our anti-air, and this is because it was the first time that they were in place, all three of them. So that is considered a success. Now that we talk about the Nighthawks are the best, let's say, in my opinion, and from what I know so far, the best to counter the T-80s and the heavy tanks. So my intention is to use them only against heavy tanks and to kill any anti-air units that are a threat either to my units or to my allies' units. In any case, if we find the opportunity, as we do now with the opportunity we have against that T-64, we take out the T-64 and we take out command vehicles and we take out maybe even infantry units, and the priority of course in infantry units is recon units, so we blind our enemies. As you can see, our anti-air systems and defense is working overtime, and now it's the time of our Milan 2 to start attacking, and that only takes one rocket hit to be destroyed. Let's take a quick look now on what our other allies not fighting at the same sector as us are doing. They seem to be doing pretty well. We have, let's say, managed to get the first two lines of rows, let's say, of sectors. They are blue. The contested sector is the one we're fighting, and we're almost even with the exception of the center, where we can see in the minimap all that concentration of green forces there, as this is conquest and control game mode, not a distraction mode. Different sectors have contribute different VPs, victory points. So right now our team is leading the score, and we have +2, as you can see, just below the minimap. We have an extra 2 sector points, let's say, so we're winning. And the aim, the objective is to reach 2,500 victory points to end the game. Now, since our ally that we're fighting at the same sector has lost his units when he tried to attack the enemies, we're up against at least 2 enemies, 2 different players. I decided to bring out 2 heavy tanks, Abrams M1 IPs, and a couple of grenadiers to be able to defend in case the enemy tries an assault on my units at the forest. If you remember, we killed one T-64 heading to the forest to the east from our side, to the southeastern forest, and now this building I'm checking seems to be of great interest to the enemy and to us as well. Our ally is losing his jet, and this jet crashed almost on top of my units at the southeastern forest. Now our friend, we fight at the same sector with our ally. He's bringing out manpads as well, because he sees that the enemy is about to get air superiority in the area, and by strengthening our anti-air capabilities we can counter their jets. Mind you that the Berlin Command Division does not have good air superiority fighters. It has the Harriers, and the Harriers are really slow and are not good against enemy jets, but they are really good against enemy helicopters. Those enemy jets were trying to get my supply helicopter, which I'm using. One thing I noticed in Warno compared with Red Dragon is that the resupply rate is much faster than it used to be in Red Dragon, which is really a nice thing. I mean, you land your supply helicopter and in a few seconds it is resupplied with rockets, be it manpads or ATGMs. So now we have on our hands probably a stalemate. We have to find a way to advance because, as you can see in the minimap, we are the only sector that it is contested. I do not feel ready to launch an attack on my own. I have to do it in cooperation with my ally at the sector. By now, a third enemy player has joined the fight because they consider us to be weak, and you can see this helicopter now trying to resupply his anti-air system, but gets wiped out by my allies' manpads. I also brought out a couple of engineers, flash engineers with the flamethrowers. It is not flamethrowers, I think it is called thermobaric. Anyway, a couple of units there, and as you can see, my supply helicopter is trying to resupply my friends' units, and it does so successfully, partly successfully, and just before this ATGM reaches it, I send it back because it is a danger zone and it won't have anything to contribute if it gets destroyed. So, back to our tactics now. We are planning on attacking ourselves, and reinforcing with engineers that I keep them boarded on their Humvees. I have the two heavy tanks waiting there, hidden in the forest, in order to counter any enemy assault. And there we have it. We have the first recon unit. They are trying to capture that recon unit, and I think it is time for our Nighthawks to take action, and Iwobat is attacking those forces. Mind you that up to now the enemy has not focused any artillery rounds against us, which is really nice and strange. It would have made our lives a lot more difficult. And our ally there, using napalms, he kills that recon unit and destroys the buildings, so nobody else will be able to get there. Our Nighthawk, in the meantime, is looking for high value targets, or let's say strategic importance or tactical importance targets, but as soon as I see an enemy plane, I evacuate my Nighthawk because I don't want to take risks. And as you can see, there was just before that enemy jet was destroyed, it managed to fire a rocket against my Nighthawk. Remember that the Nighthawk does not have any countermeasures, so if they fire at you, if they see you and they fire at you, you're dead. In the other sectors now, our allies seem to be in a bit of trouble, and in our own sector, as we can see, the red icons have multiplied, so this means that the enemies are going to try an assault to our sector sooner or later, and we have to decide what to do. First of all, we have to use our Nighthawks and try to take out either enemy units like the ones we're targeting right now, that they are in that building, which is, they have a nice field of view, and then we have to take out with surgical attacks, heavy tanks and anti-air systems. As things seem to get more tight for us, I have to take more risks with my Nighthawk, and I'm approaching closer to the front line, even if there are enemy air superiority jets flying, and when you take more risk, you pay the price in the end, and I've just lost one of my two valuable Nighthawks. This is a big blow to my psychology, in that game. However, on the other hand, it is a wake-up call in order for me to start at last an assault on that forest and see what will happen. And for this reason, I'm using the VAB Rashid, which is the excellent recon vehicle I have, and it is an amphibious vehicle. Keep that in mind because you might need it in the different maps. I always like to use, when I can, of course, command vehicles and recon vehicles that are amphibious in order for me to be able to use them in various terrains. And now I'm start thinking of a plan to attack that forest. First of all, the multitasking is a nightmare for me. To micromanage each unit is a nightmare, especially if I have planes up in the air. Many times before, I have forgotten that I had jets up in the air, and they kept flying towards the enemy and they get shot down. So now, when I'm planning on using my planes, I have to keep my land units inactive or not moving still, in order for me to focus on the flight paths and the exit, let's say, path of my jets. Now the enemy seems to be bringing a lot of tanks and attack helicopters, suggesting that he's thinking of attacking our lines and trying to break our lines of defense. And by now I must tell you that we have 4 enemies up against us, and because they see this sector being contested for so long and we are unable to either gain control of that sector, so they build confidence that they can attack us. However, we are thinking exactly the same for them. We have to attack them. And for this reason, I decided to enter that forest to the southeast, and I inform my allies that I will do so. And just as I do that, one of the allies puts a flare, a beacon, and he says that there is an anti-air there. So we have to attack now, and we have to take care of our last remaining Nighthawk. However, I cannot stop attacking because I have to make them have second thoughts about their assault. I mean, it is in a war, even in real life war, it is the will of one side against the will of the other side. So their will right now is to attack, and my will is for them not to attack, to reconsider. And as I'm planning my assault, we see our friend there. He sent first his units while I was micromanaging my Nighthawk. He sent first his units in that forest. We have a damaged T-80 there that I wanna take out, and I'm now thinking of using my mortars. I use mortars in order to provide smoke screens only. I don't waste ammo on enemy units, only in very special or rare occasions. So since this is going to be a forest fight, I chose to move first my two the flame engineer units, but I have to be extra careful with the path they will follow, because I've seen some ATGMs flying around, and the recon, there it is, another 2 of them flying around. I don't know if they have hidden somewhere else another ATGM unit, so I try to be safe and enter the forest from a safe, let's say, place. I have already loaded my scout unit, my recon unit as well on the VAP, and I'm gonna move that recon unit further up. As you can see, I do not sell, and I have disabled the auto sell order in order for me to be able to decide which units I can use to transport my infantry when I need it to. Remember before with the gazelles and now with the VAB. The VAB is even better because it is armed, it has a 7.62 machine gun, and it can use it to support my troops. Those chieftains, the two heavy tanks, ran up against that infantry unit. As we suspected, they had hidden units in the tree line, and it gets destroyed by an ATGM. So it was a wise decision to use that path for my units, even if it took more time for them to reach. So now I decided to bring out another 4 tanks, 2 of each kind. The first is the M728 SEV, which has the 165 powerful against infantry gun, and the next is the FV432, which is the it has the 30mm gun, which is really good against infantry and light vehicles, and especially suppression. In order for our assault to be successful, we have to secure the flanks. We cannot have friendly units being exposed from both sides, and for this reason our Nighthawk is taking out the anti-air units that are identified, and we know that they are in that building, the Iglas, so we're going to attack that building in order to compromise their AA capabilities. In this game, and in real life as a matter of fact, there is the misconception that if you do not lead an assault, say with heavy tanks for example, you are not doing enough to help your allies achieve their target. This is a mistake, of course, because as we have demonstrated right now with the double strike on that AA units, the enemy units from our Nighthawk, this is equally important as charging with, say, 2-3 heavy tanks and start firing. We helped our allies a lot, and you have to take small cautious steps, as this game does not forgive mistakes. So now that our Nighthawk went back to the base, we can move our heavy tanks a bit further up, and the 4 support light tanks as we mentioned before. We are bringing out our 2 mortar units as well, and we have placed our scouts in front, and we have 1 grenadier unit and 1 engineer, flame engineer unit ready to assault that building which we suspect that there are enemies in it. The enemy, on the other hand, he's continued to gather and concentrate forces, the 4 players we just saw right now, and we get help now from our friends from the west, the other allies we have from the west, with attack helicopters and other vehicles, because as we mentioned before, there are flanks, the enemy flanks, the western flanks from our side are exposed, and our friends can easily attack them. And as our friends rain mortars on the enemies, we started our assault, and as we suspected, there are enemies in that building, and we can hear the screams over the radio from our friends grenadiers. so I decide to take them back because there's no chance for me to win this fight, so it doesn't worth it losing another unit, and instead I'm going to use my Nighthawk as usually, and I will try to heal that unit and send another one after that to capture the building. In the meantime, as the Nighthawk is being launched, there is an enemy air superiority fighter which luckily for us gets destroyed before he manages to attack my Nighthawk. So two important things now. First of all, I'm reinforcing my AA capabilities, and secondly, I'm not using yet my mortars because I just witnessed the friendly mortars being destroyed by counter-arty just a bit further south from where my supply helicopter is. They are now all dead, so I don't want to reveal the position of my mortars to the enemy, so I do not get counter-arted. There is no need in any case because we will walk through forest and it is only a small distance to cover exposed in order for us to reach that building. I'm using again the VAB, the empty VAB, to go and pick up my other grenadier unit as we have done before, and as all this is happening, a T-64 decides to attack us, attack our lines, and because we have not used and revealed the heavy tanks, we have the two M1 IPs, the Abrams, he is not aware that we have those heavy tanks around, and he's about to get an unpleasant surprise right now because we have two heavy tanks. The T-64 is a strong tank, but he doesn't stand any chances against the two heavy tanks from our side, and he gets destroyed. And this is the importance of not revealing your forces unless it is absolutely necessary. Taking a look now at the rest of the map and how the fight develops there, we see that we have established our positions. I don't think the enemy can do anything to win this game, and you can see the score. They have 0 VPs, and it will be close to impossible for them to win this game. But you never know, because we see again heavy tanks appearing in our sector. These guys still think that we're weak, and our friend there is trying to attack that T-80. He gets attacked by the Iglas, and this is where our Nighthawk comes and he destroys that Igla. First of all, that was my priority, and on the second run it will try to destroy the T-80, because you have to get your priorities right. I know that the heavy tank is the main target, but you have to take out the anti-air first in order to achieve clear skies for our friends, since we have more jets, not just us. And this is the mistake the RT players are making. Most of the, like 95% of the RT players I have witnessed in this game, in the, let's say, close to 100 hours I have now in this game, they do not get their priorities right. And since this is a simulation of a real war, let's say, in a way, because it has many common, let's say, aspects with the real thing, you have to first of all take out and prioritize the anti-air. And this is because in our case, in this game, we have plenty of attack aeroplanes. We have napalms, we have bombers, we have stealth bombers. So the priority of any, let's say, RT player that wants to support our sector should be the anti-air. Then our jets will take over and they can kill easily any heavy tanks or infantry. And our really brave Wombat is trying to do a support job, but he gets destroyed by ATGMs, and now the F-432 will try the same. Hopefully it will not get destroyed, but you never know. Things are tight and they have moved again, and as you can see on the minimap, it is the only contested sector as well, and it is time for me to bring out a ATGM helicopter. This helicopter, the Hell Arm, is really good. It has 8 rockets and they are quite precise and strong. Most of the times this helicopter gets destroyed by enemy jets because they are faster and they see that you are attacking their heavy tanks and they want to retaliate, and since they are young guys full of adrenaline, they want to take revenge at the spot and they try to attack you. Most of the times they kill you, but they get killed as well. So a zero-sum game. And right now I've noticed a rocket, a manpad firing at my friend there, so the Hell Arm is going to be away. It will run away and I'm gonna hide it. But I'm going to send my Nighthawk there because now we know the exact position of the manpads, and from what we can see, it is the only anti-air they have in the area, at least from the units we can have eyes on, and this is a juicy target for my Nighthawk. And from what we hear on the radio, this should be a successful run and the AA is dead. So we have made, let's say, a successful run, and now I'm trying to destroy the building where we had some ATGMs before, because I see my friend advancing there with 3 tanks. But there are so many ATGMs around from at least 2 sides for him, and for this reason I tried to use my Abrams to attack that BMP, and the Abrams is really strong, so even if he gets hit, because the BMP 2, they have ATGMs as well, but let's see what happens. He launches the ATGM, but the round of the Abrams travels faster and he's dead. And now we try to attack the other units we see, and he is bringing an AT helicopter, an Akula helicopter, which is going to be a threat for us. He launches an ATGM against our tank, so it's time to move and go back. And now that we have cleared the BMP-2 and we have no other, let's say, heavy tanks or armored vehicles around that pose a threat to our infantry units, it is time for us to move on, and for this reason it is time for the first time to use my mortars that they have been sitting there for so long doing nothing, and I select a sector where I see that some ATGMs are coming, so I'm about to fire a few smoke rounds there to cover the advance of my troops. And our friendly jet is firing again at those buildings we struck with our Nighthawk before, in case there are enemy units there. The smoke is deployed. They are doing an excellent job. We fire a few rounds and we see now that the enemy is bringing more infantry units there, and I start thinking that maybe I have to use a different kind of plane. we have in our hands, in this deck as well, in this battle group, we have the Mirage 4. This plane is capable of doing something like carpet bombing, so I'm thinking of using it now. The enemy is trying to sneak some manpads around, and the FV432 is doing an excellent job against those Iglas, and we are using for the first time our Mirage 4. You can see the carpet bombing there. Very nice bomb run. I'm really satisfied with the pilot. He will get a medal after this game. And the enemy is bringing another T-80, which is bad news, the T-80. I have to do something about that T-80. We don't want it alive for long, because it's a threat to our units. I'm moving another light tank of mine, but with a 30mm gun closer to the front. And now we see the importance of support units. You see that helicopter, the friendly helicopter, he's healing and resupplying our units. And we are moving. We've moved our grenadiers first of all, and I'm using the grenadiers because I don't see any heavy tanks around in close proximity. The grenadiers do have some AT guns on them, but they are not as strong as the Berlin rifles, which is the other unit I usually use. And our Nighthawk made another successful run against that T-80, so now I wouldn't like to be in the position of our enemies there, because they cannot counter our they lost probably all their air superiority fighters, so they cannot counter our jets, only with ground anti-air. Time to use the M728 SEV. We try to use it, we bring it to the front. It has decent armor, but those ATGMs, I forgot to deploy smoke with my mortars. You see how far they can reach. These ATGMs in this game have been a pain. They kept coming from all directions and they cover long distances. At this point, since we do not know if there is another T-80 around, I decided to smoke on that forest in order to obstruct the line of sight, and I'm using the machine gun of the SEV and the cannon and the FV432. I see an armored vehicle of some sort, and now it's time for me to deploy smoke on the path of those ATGMs as well, in order to try to save my tank. The enemy, meanwhile, in an act of desperation, he sent an infantry command unit to the sector, and he's managing to capture the sector. I cannot move there to attack it, as I'm focused on the forest fight and the use of my Nighthawk, and I cannot send my Nighthawk to attack it unless I have a precise position of where his infantry unit is. And as he sees that we do not respond, he takes courage and he sends another T-64. But hidden in the woods is a Abrams M1A1, and is about to have an unpleasant surprise from the woods, and he gets destroyed. In the meantime, after we deployed smoke to block the ATGMs, we bring in our supply helicopter to heal our tank and our ground units, and it's time for my Nighthawk, for our Nighthawk to attack that ATGM unit hiding in that building. I see the Iglas next to it, but it might be dead by the time the Nighthawk arrives, which is the case, and we do a successful run and we make a mistake now. Instead of clicking just after the laser guided bomb left the aircraft, I forgot to click and I delayed and made a circle above the enemy units, which is really dangerous to do because we're gonna get killed. But we were lucky this time, there were no AA around and we managed to escape. The enemy command unit, the infantry unit that is hiding in our sector, is doing an excellent job because we have stopped capturing that sector and we lost the VP income from that sector. For this reason, I decided to move my scouts a bit further up to find him. There he is. Already he was found by our ally and he's destroyed. Now we're capturing again the sector, and as soon as it is captured we will get +1 VP, meaning that we're just 100 VPs away, 123 VPs away from winning. And I'm replacing now the lost light tanks, let's say, and our mortars are deploying smoke again to block the view of the other T-80 that appeared at the same area, and of course I'm tempted to attack it. However, that enemy jet is circling above and I'm not sure if I can make it or not. Right now the T-80 moved and he's engaged by the anti-tank guns that the infantry, the friendly infantry has. We have a recon there. He did not notice our recon, and as soon as I say that, those Saperi infantry unit comes out of the woods and my scouts are discovered by the T-80, but I managed to set up the target for my Nighthawk, and there is a friendly jet as well, and we have managed to kill. We stole that kill from our friend because the laser guided bomb flies faster than the cluster munitions, so we killed him first, and I'm targeting, as you saw, that special forces. It was a special forces, and a lucky escape again for the Nighthawk. One thing we have to give credit to our enemies is that they did not quit. They kept trying, and they kept trying hard, especially in our sector. We did not have time, and as we mentioned, I'm not that experienced yet in the game, so I can move from one sector to another to check what is happening. So we are focusing on our sector only, and in our sector it has been a really interesting fight, and I liked the tactical aspect of this game because I had the time to plan my moves and to move in a pace where I can micromanage my units. So regardless of if I'm going to upload new videos on this game or not, it depends on your comments, and if you find it interesting too, I will be logging more hours on this game for sure. So with this opportunity, I would like to remind you to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our new videos, and if you hit that like button, it would be much appreciated. Now we are approaching the end of the game and we have just won this game. It was a really fun game to play, and we got ourselves 2 medals, 3 medals, which is really nice. So I will catch you in another video soon, I hope. Bye for now.